All right, I would like to introduce Mr. Dorsey Levens. He played for the Packers, and in the 1996 NFC Championship game against the Carolina Panthers, he had a breakout game. I got all this information from Caden, so it's football talk that you've never heard me say. He ran the ball 10 times per Caden, he said, for 89 yards and caught 5 passes for 117 yards and a touchdown in a 30-13 win. It's the most football talk you've ever heard come out of my mouth. Okay. He was born in Syracuse, and he is a famous actor. So he has done Perry's Medea on the Run, 3 Can Play at That Game, Bell Rung, and do I got them all? Oh, what's the one soap opera one? I missed that one. For Better or For Worse. Oops, sorry about that. Without further ado, Mr. Dorsey Levens.
Thank you, Lori. Lori, got confusing for a second there. I wasn't sure what you were. You can tell you don't talk football a lot, do you? It's all good. The founder of the BioCode program that I'm about to tell you about is a little Jewish lady, and you just reminded me of her because no, here's why. Because she was trying to give a football analogy one day, and we were talking about biocoding, and she literally has no idea what she's talking about. Bless her heart, she tries. So she goes. So here's what happens, right? She's like, the quarterback drops back, right? I'm like, yeah, you got it. She's like, he throws the ball to the receiver, right? And he catches it, right? And then he throws it back, and then I was like, what? Throw it back? Like, what are you talking about? Bless your heart, Lori. Got it? There we go. All right, how's everybody doing this morning? Oh, it's afternoon, I guess it is, huh? All right. I guess let's jump right into it. You have to, Lori, keep me posted on the time. I will. And if we could close a door, that would be great. Gilbert Brown, ladies and gentlemen. And save some cookies for everybody else, too, please. It's crazy. Gilbert runs like the biggest anti-bullying campaign in Wisconsin, and he's the biggest bully I know. Where do I start? I'm so excited. So I started doing this leadership development work / life development work probably about almost 3 years ago. How many of you guys stress? Anybody stress at all? Okay, all right. So I also stressed like everybody else. So I had a speed and agility company in Atlanta where I train young athletes to excel in sports. I had a pro lacrosse guy. I was going to give you the background real quick. And I always give my guys motivational quotes because I'm a firm believer that whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve, right? But you just got to convince yourself first. So it's all mental. So one day he goes, you and my mom should talk because you guys talk a lot alike and you've read a lot of the same books. I was like, yeah, cool. But, what is she doing? He's like, well, leadership development. And I was like, eh. He's like, I ain't doing that shit. But out of respect for him, I was like, I'll take the meeting with his mom. So we went to lunch, and what I was expecting was PowerPoints, personality assessments, typical leadership development stuff, and I was not interested in that at all. But when I left the meeting, I was very intrigued by what she said because it wasn't at all what I had anticipated. So she asked me, just like I asked you guys, do you stress? Which is kind of a rhetorical question, right? Because we all have stress. So I went through the program and I practiced what she taught me. And my life changed dramatically from a stress standpoint. So that when I do stress, I have the tools to talk me down so that I'm not stressed for a very long time, if I'm stressed at all. Right? So how I came here, I work with Lori and Gilbert all the time. And Lori, where's Lisa? Her sister Lisa. They were in the parking lot, right? They're about to have a girl fight. Gilbert was the referee. And they're just about to kill each other. And Lori struggles, the relationship working together, right? So I'm like, Lori, no, don't hit her. There's a better way. There's a better way. We can handle this differently, right? So I took Lori through, and we'll talk about that later. But basically, my stress levels have decreased. Unbelievable. Who says they don't stress anymore? Who says that? Right. Until now. So it's called BioCoding. It's short for biological codes. It was invented by this doctor, Dr. Jill Kahn, who's a little Jewish lady I talked about who wants the receiver to throw the ball back to the quarterback. Oh, I guess, how you guys feeling about the moves the Packers made? Everybody excited? Yeah? New coach, new defensive players. What's going to happen? Anybody know? Yeah. Super Bowl, right? Whew, all right. High expectations. We'll talk about that too. Because that'll stress you out, right? So I know you guys all have businesses, and businesses are stressful. And we've come through the leadership development door because initially one of our founders was in HR for 30 years. And when she went through the program, she was like, every CEO in the world needs this because they're stressed out. When I went through it, I was like, every player and coach in the world needs this because players and coaches don't know how to communicate. And then the more I did it and the more I practiced it, I was like, who needs this? Everybody. Because everybody stresses. And I want to talk to some kids a little bit later. But we're in the process of simplifying this even more than it already is to teach younger kids in school districts. I'm actually going to Syracuse, New York, my hometown, and we're implementing a program to introduce into the school because it helps kids as well. So what it is, basically it's a new way of thinking and it's a new way of acting. All right, so you have to kind of change the way you look at the world. This is what my t-shirt say. Change the way you look at the world, and the world you look at will begin to change. All right, but it all starts up here. Right, I call this the Me, Myself, and I program. Because in order for this program to work, and I'm not going to give you all of it, I'm just going to give you bits and pieces of it. There are 5 tools, 5 biocodes that I'm going to teach you. But like I said, I won't give it all to you. We don't have that much time. It takes longer. So it's here to. I lost my train of thought. It's here to help you not stress out as much. So for this to work, the only person that has to change is you, right? Because at the end of the day, I'm going to tell you things that you already know, but you just need to be reminded of. At the end of the day, you're not able to change anybody or control anyone other than yourselves, and some of us can't even do that. So if you can't change or control yourself, how are you going to change or control someone else? And I'm speaking for me as well, right? This is not for perfect people. This is not for perfect people. There's no magic recipe or secret formula. There's no hocus pocus. It's real live work, but you have to do the work. You have to practice it in order to get stronger. It's just like lifting weights, right? In order to lift the weights, in order to get stronger, you have to lift the weights, right? If you want to lose weight, you have to diet or you have to work out, right? You can't look at the treadmill and lose weight. Doesn't work like that. I wish it did. We could fill Lambo up with it, right? And we just all look at the treadmill and be nice and slim. Just doesn't work that way, unfortunately, right? So if you practice, it does work. All right, so the first one I want to talk about, and this is all about self-empowerment. It's about taking control back of your life because a lot of times we give power and control over the things that we can't control. And it affects us mentally. Right? I'm going to give you a perfect example. How many of you, by show of hands, your whole week is ruined if the Packers lose? Right. You're worried about something you can't control. Right? I mean, it happens all the time. We worry about things we can't control. So the first thing we teach is focus on yourself only. Focus on your conduct as a person only. Regardless of how the other person is conducting themselves. Keep your focus. There's an awareness factor to this where at first, we're just going to be aware of why we stress and where we stress. Right? Just to be, everybody has somebody who gets on their nerves. Right? Or some situation that gets on their nerves. We're going to always focus on ourselves. That's the first step we're going to do. All right? Regardless of the conduct of the other person, keep the focus on you. And here's the kicker. Regardless of whether or not they're right or wrong, keep the focus on your conduct only. And that's difficult because a lot of times we want to be right. Right? We always want to be right. We want to prove ourselves to be right. And looking back on it, I'm not really sure why we do it. I still haven't gotten my prize for being right in the mail yet. And I've had a lot of arguments. Right? So we're going to let that go. Let that go. See, the goal here for this program is inner peace. That's it. Inner peace. Peace of mind. And you control that. Nobody else controls that because you control the way you think. Right? What would you think about if you could think about what only you wanted to think about all day? Let me say that one more time. What would you think about if you could think about what only you wanted to think about all day? Well, guess what? You get to think about whatever it is you want to think about all day. But it's where you focus your attention that matters. If you focus on problems, you're going to have more problems. If you focus on good, there's going to be more good. Right? The world is not all bad. It's really not. If you watch the evening news, you would think it was. Or any news outlet for that matter. I call it the bad news. I don't even watch it. I just don't. It's nothing but bad news. So that's the first thing. Keep the conduct on yourselves only. The second part of this, I feel like I'm going to check my notes because I feel like I want to go back to the first part. All right, so like I said, this is all about you. Bring the focus back to yourself. So now when we have problems, right? And we all have problems. We all have stress. We're not going to look at problems as problems. We're going to look at them for opportunities for growth. All right? Opportunities for growth. So when there's a problem now you're not going to freak out anymore. Like I said, it's a change of mindset, right? When there's a problem, you're not going to go, oh my God, here comes another problem. You're going to go, how can I learn from this? How can I get stronger so I can deal with it more effectively next time? Right? If somebody comes to your office and they're complaining about something, that never happens, right? And they're losing it because people do. People get upset and they lose it, right? And maybe it's unwarranted. Maybe it is. I don't know. But a lot of times we can get dragged into other people's drama because they're having a bad day, right? So what we teach you is how not to do that. So, secondly, I'm drawing a blank here. Secondly, I'm looking at my notes, and I apologize. I think I'm a little nervous. I really do. What'd you say? It's all me, right? Keep the focus on me and only me. Yeah, give me a cookie. All right, I'm not even gonna look at that. All right, I know this stuff. All right, so we're gonna focus on your conduct only and not the conduct of the other person. All right, so a lot of this is having that conversation so there are two voices in your head, right? Hopefully there's only two. If you have more than two, I can't help you with that. You have to go talk to somebody else about that. But this whole program is about those two voices in your head and getting those two voices in your head on the same page. All right? How many times have you I'll give me an example. I pulled into McDonald's earlier this morning, and I'm not even sure that's real food. And I know that, right? But I'm out of town. I need something to eat real fast so I can come back to the hotel. And I'm in a drive-thru, and I'm like, you shouldn't be eating this. And the other voice goes, well, what else are you going to eat? It's right across the street. It's convenient. You can go back. Right? So the goal in this whole program is get those two voices on the same page. All right? I know I'm kind of all over the place. I'm trying to bring it back together. All right? So I'm just going to go to BioCode 2. BioCode 2 is finding out where you're weak emotionally. All right? We all have weak points. So we're going to find out my weaker points is patience. Right? I'm very impatient. And I think we all, to a certain degree, have a level of impatience. So last night, my flight got delayed, right? And I had to practice being patient. So I feel like I'm bombing. You ever feel like you're bombing? Like I'm like a comedian and I'm like bombing. I really do. Hold on, let me take a deep breath. All right, hold on.
Tell that guy to shut up. Yeah.
He will not shut up. All right, so here's what we're going to do. BioCode 2, the workout code, is about inner strength. The goal is to stop the story in your head and flex the weaker emotion, and it will identify and strengthen my weaker emotions. There's always a new perspective. The new perspective is your emotional weaknesses are strengths in disguise when exercised properly. So going back to the impatience thing, right? So if I'm feeling impatient, or if I'm feeling doubtful, or if I'm feeling overwhelmed, like you are a lot of times, that voice in your head has to, first of all, you have to be aware that you're angry. Any emotion, you run the whole gamut, right? You have to understand that that's where you are. That's the awareness part of it. So if I'm patient, if I'm impatient, I want to practice patience. Right? If I'm overwhelmed, I want to practice calm. So whatever emotion you're feeling, you want to practice the opposite. Because here's the thing. We all have these stories in our head, right? We all have stories in our head. Fearful. I have a 17-year-old daughter, just bought her car. Right? So you're right. Everybody's like, because you understand, if you have kids, you understand the anxiety that comes along with that. Right? So I'm fearful. And I'm aware of that. So in order to not stress myself out, I have to practice the opposite emotion of what I'm feeling. So in that moment, and let me go back and say this, the only time you use this program is when you're stressed. That's it. The only time. So the first thing you have to do is be aware of when you're stressed, and then you use this program. Right? When everything is going fine, just keep doing whatever it is you're doing. No one has ever said, are you having a great day? How can I make it better? No one has ever said that to me anyway. Right? So the only time you use this is when you're stressed. And when you're stressed, it's time to have that conversation with those two voices in your head. What am I stressed about? What am I stressed about? I'm stressed that I think something's going to happen to my daughter while she's driving her car. Right? So I'm fearful. So what's the opposite of fear? Trust. Right? Trust. Practice trust, practice trust. She's been all right. She's always been all right. I've worried ad nauseum for 17 years, and she's always been okay. She's always been okay. So you practice the opposite. Stop the story in your head. Maybe you think your business is going to fail. Maybe you think your relationship is in trouble. Right? I don't know whatever story it is. We all tell ourselves stories. And we have to be careful because we believe what we tell ourselves. right? So if you're feeling any kind of certain way, practice the opposite emotion. And what this does, it helps you take your power back. All right? BioCode, and it helps you take your power back in that you no longer blame anything for you not moving forward. Right? It's no longer Lori's fault or Lisa's fault or Gilbert's fault that I'm not doing what I need to be doing. This is about taking your power back, taking control back over your life. All right? So, there are two things that I really want to focus on in this BioCode too. A lot of us judge, right? We judge. What's the opposite of judgment? And we judge everything. We judge the Packers. We judge Aaron Rodgers. We judge the weather. How many of us judge the weather? How many of y'all can control the weather? Nobody can control the weather? You can control it? Wow. You shouldn't be in here. You should be doing some bigger things than that. Right? So we stress over stuff that we can't control. The judgment part of it, though, is big. Right? Because we judge a lot of things that we can't change or control. And what it does is it takes up mental space that you could be using doing something more productive, if that makes any sense. Right? Is anybody in here exactly where they want to be in life? Right. Nobody, right? You are? Good for you. Congratulations. Most of us are not where we want to be in life. And we don't know why we can't get there. But we focus on things that aren't important often, right? Like the weather, like the Packers or the Brewers or the Bucks or whoever you cheer for, the Badgers. Right? We judge. And what judging does is brings your energy down. We judge other people for no reason because we don't know their stories. Right? You don't know what they're going through. One of my biggest things, in Atlanta, the traffic is really bad. Right? And for some reason, I think I know how everybody in Atlanta should drive. I do, right? Like, how can you be in a sports car going the speed limit? That doesn't make any sense. Right? Or how can you be in that little raggedy Honda Civic that makes all that noise going 95? So we judge people that we can't change. And like I said, for me, the traffic, I'm focusing on other people, right? Which is the first thing we learn. Take the focus off of other people and bring the focus back to yourself. And ask yourself, why am I mad? I'm mad because the person in front of me is driving really slow. So I play a game with myself in my mind because it's my mind and I can think whatever I want to think. So instead of getting mad when somebody is driving, and I hope this doesn't come off as racist, but I say in my mind, they're either old or Asian. Old or Asian, old or Asian. Right? I make it a game. So now I'm not frustrated, I'm not angry because somebody's driving slow. Because the speed limit in Atlanta is 65 and you're in the fast lane going 50. Right? Because once again, the goal is what? Inner peace. You can't change or control what anybody else is doing. So we no longer worry about it. Because we can't. It's like worrying about the weather. No matter how angry you get, you cannot make the clouds go away. You cannot make it warm in Wisconsin in the wintertime. No matter how much you complain about it in your head, right? So what I'm saying is, if you're not where you are in life, and you're focusing on things that don't matter or things you can't control, maybe that'll help you move forward. Stop worrying about what your favorite sports team is doing. Stop worrying about what your neighbor's doing. Stop worrying about the person in front of you driving. Unless your goal in life is to fix every driver, if that's going to help you succeed in life, then you can use that mental space on something more productive. How can I get more people on my campground? How can I make more money while they're there? How can I advertise more? As opposed to going, can't believe my neighbor Jim didn't shovel his driveway again. Right? It's time wasted. The other thing I want to talk about is acceptance. Accepting things the way they are, especially the things that you have no ability to change, which is everything mostly outside of your campground or outside of your own personal lives. Right? Accept things the way they are. The political climate is real hot right now, right? It's kind of touchy, like, whoo. I don't have an issue with anything because I can't control what goes on in the White House. How many of you have lost your shit over something that you saw on TV because of politics? Mostly everybody. We can't vote again until next year. So you're going to be mad in the meantime, or you're going to be productive? The choice is yours, right? It's your life. But you got to get those two voices in your head on the same page. Is this important to me? If it is, let's spend some time on it. If it's not, let's not spend time on it. All right, so you got to change your mindset. It's all about the way you look at life. And this program helps you change the way you look at things so you don't stress. So when you're stressed at that moment, you can have that talk with yourself and go, listen, there's really no need for that. One of the things, talk about acceptance. I have a 4-year-old son. And we all went to Myrtle Beach last year. Me, my son, my daughter, and I met my best friend and his wife and kids down there. And obviously my best friend knows me because he's my best friend. I've known him, most of my life. And we hadn't really spent any time together, like on a vacation in probably like 5 or 6 years. And this was before I started BioCoding, right? So he comes up to me and he goes, I don't even know who the fuck you are anymore, man. Like he just lost me. And I was like, what do you mean? He was like, I don't know, man. It's just like different. But what it was and I talked to him about it later because I wanted to know what he meant. He was talking about my level of patience. Because I told y'all, patience is one of my issues, so I'm always practicing patience. I'm always practicing the opposite. If I feel a bad emotion, or we don't call them bad or good, we call them weaker and stronger. Because if you have a weaker emotion, you can make it stronger. It's like you have a weaker bicep. If you do some curls, you can make it stronger. Right? So your emotions aren't good or bad. They are what they are. And we talk about acceptance too. A big one, look in that mirror and make sure you accept that person you're looking at. A lot of us don't even like ourselves. And I speak from experience. We've all been there, right? We've had moments where we're just not happy about where we are in life or what we look like or what we're doing. That's another speech. But accepting yourself is where it all starts. Can't be mad at you. All right? You and you, them two voices, we keep going back to those two voices. Y'all got to be on the same page. If you look in the mirror and don't like what you see, those voices aren't on the same page. They're not. So going back to my son and dealing with other people and meeting people where they are, I think a lot of you who own businesses, people are just different, right? We're all different, and it's not good or bad. It's just, I think it's kind of good that we're all different. If we were all the same, how boring would that be? Shit. If everybody looked the same and dressed the same and talked the same, that'd be ridiculous, right? So we embrace our differences. What was the point I was making, Lori? My son, there we go. I get sidetracked a lot. I think I might have old people ADD or something. I'm not even through, that's a thing. But I say all that to say, I was explaining to my friend that he's very controlling of his kids. A lot of us old schoolers, we were raised, our parents were very controlling, right? Very controlling. So I've kind of lost that mentality. Because kids are kids. He's 4. I'm like, he thinks he's Batman half the time, or Catboy from PJ Masks, or he thinks he's some other superhero. He thinks he's Dash from The Incredibles. So from a little person who thinks like that, how much can they really do wrong? You know what I mean? Like what he's learning. He's 4. He wasn't even here 4 years ago. Like when your kids started college, he wasn't even here. Right? 4 years gone, and I'm like, I'm not going to scream and holler at a 4-year-old for being 4. He thinks he's a superhero. I love it. So when he jumps off the bed and hits his head, like, who has the 5 little monkeys jumping on the bed, one fell off, right? Oh my God, he did that one time. And he busted he hit it hard. He hit so he was on my bed and he jumped in the board on the end of the bed, caught his foot, and he hit the face first. And my daughter started cracking up laughing. Talk about a BioCode moment, right? And I'm like, she's 17, so she thinks it's hilarious. So I can't be too mad at her, although I didn't want her to laugh in front of my kid. All right, so that's BioCode 2. Practice the weaker emotion if you're feeling a certain way. Those 2 ones, though, I think the judgment one, right, and the acceptance thing are 2 of the ones that I focus on in my talks because those are the biggest ones to me. The 4th BioCode, so we're going to skip over 3 and 5, is all about communication. And this is why I thought every coach and every player in the country should use this program. And by the way, we've taught this to Mark Murphy's staff, the president of the Packers. We've done the Georgia Tech athletic director and his staff. We've worked in Atlanta at the Federal Reserve Bank, which is, this thing is like made of marble. The security to get in, you got to park your car, open all the doors, the trunk. They take a mirror to go under your car. A dog comes around. But nobody's answering me the question about how much money they have in there. I don't know why that is. Anyway, we've done Chick-fil-A. We've done a lot of other corporations. And it's funny because we come in to try to change the mindset in the corporation, but when we leave, nobody's talking about work. Everybody's talking about their kids, their wife. And Atlanta traffic is terrible, so traffic comes up a lot. But this one, it's a communication code. And when I talk about looking at things differently, in this particular code, we're going to hear things differently. All right? When people are angry or upset or sad and they say things they may not mean, what are they really trying to say? And it goes back to, this is all about your peace of mind, nobody else's, right? How many of y'all, and I'm going to go off track if you bring me back to BioCode 4, how many of y'all are holding grudges against somebody? Some resentment maybe? Anybody? Right. So, the word forgiveness, if you flip it around, is to give for. To give for yourself. Because the person that you're holding a grudge against or resenting is not being affected by you holding a grudge against them. As they say, it's like you drinking poison and expecting the other person to get sick. So what this program has done is lifted a weight off my shoulders that I didn't know was there. Because just like many of you, I held grudges. There was some resentment. You fucked me over once, it's done. Right? And that's what I love about this program too. I cuss. I get to be me. And I love being me. Right? Who wants to be? Don't you hate when you have to be fake sometimes? Don't you? I have to do it sometimes. And Gilbert, you know. You know what I'm saying? I mean, being an ex-Packer is not always great. When you're taking pictures and signing autographs, when you're smiling for 3 hours, 2.5 hours in, you're like, This is real talk. This is for real. This program is for real people with real problems who want answers, who don't want to stress out. Stress kills you. It literally kills you. How we doing on time, Miss Laura? You giving me? Oh, man, only 5? All right. All right, so I should go back to the communication code. You married? What does she complain about? Keep it lighthearted. Keep it light. Keep it light. Keep it light. Cleaning. She wants you to clean more. All right. How does she say it? Has there ever been an argument about your cleaning? What did you say to him? I just said fucking shit like 10 times. I think you can. No? What did you say to him? Come on.
Clean your shit up.
Clean your shit up. That could probably cause an argument, would you say? Right? Because I don't want to hear that shit when I come home. You don't want to hear it either, do you, right? So now we're going to hear it differently. What is she really asking for? Help. So now, what we do with the communication code is we hear it, we interpret it differently. What is she really saying? So if I could change the way if in my mind, she could ask me in the nicest possible way to clean up my shit, how would that sound to me? Honey, would you please clean this up and afterwards I'll give you a favor? Right? Right? Wouldn't you be more inclined to clean up if you heard it that way? Right? So you reinterpret what she just said. So you heard that dip, you heard, oh, yeah, okay. So your response, what's your normal response when she says, you need to clean your shit up? What's your you punk, you ain't got, are you scared of her? All right. So you put it back out better than what it came in. Instead of hearing, will you clean your shit up, you hear, will you please clean this up? And instead of responding, you respond, I will. Most of us would respond differently. Right, exactly, yeah. You respond as if she said it the way you would like her to hear it. And your response would be, of course, honey, I'll clean up. Coaches and players, one of the reasons why I thought this is effective, and Gilbert, you can attest to this, coaches scream at players all the time, right? What are they really asking from the players? Just play better. That's all they really want, right? They want you to play better, to perform at a higher level. That's why they scream and holler. But as a former athlete, when I was screamed at as a player, I didn't like it. And most people didn't like it. Did you like it? I'm going to ask you a personal question. Because a lot of times we do stuff to other people that we don't like done to us. When you coach the football team, did you scream at your players? See, when you got coaches like that, you got to know how to reinterpret what they're saying. And when you scream at them, what do you want them to do? Do their job, to play better, right? So you reinterpret what you heard. All right, so and then we go back to BioCode 1. Take the focus off of them. Bring it back to myself. Here's a conversation, right? Because they're dumb, right? Take the focus off of them. Why? I'm Gilbert, right? Why am I mad? Because they're dumb. Okay. Are there dumb people in this world? There are dumb people in this world. So why are you getting mad that they're dumb? You should accept that they're dumb people in this world, right? Okay. So when you deal with this person next time, realize she's mentally challenged. You have to approach her differently. No, not you. Lori, this is the conversation in my head. You're not even in this. You're not even here right now. This is all in my head. I'm biocoding this out loud. All right? I accept that people are challenging sometimes. It's just the way it is. Everybody does not think the way I would like them to think. Everyone does not act the way I would like them to act. Okay, so now, all right, sweetie. Because he coached girls. He coached the girls' lingerie league, right? All right, sweetie, I know you're doing your best. Go out there and keep trying hard. I love you. Thank you. Instead of calling him a big dummy. All right, so I know the beginning part was kind of rough. But I guess we're going to talk about going from campground to campground and doing the whole program. It takes about 2 hours. And our plan is that I'll implement it. There's a booklet, a small booklet, that you would get. And we would sit down for 2 hours. I would give you the whole system thoroughly. Then we take a break. And I think the plan is to maybe do a campfire at night and then come back. And just like I just BioCoded that in my head out loud, I would let you guys do that. You know, and Lori and Lisa. We are on the BioCode. Yeah, and let me take a look at that. This is it right here. This is the whole program. Very simple to learn. Very simple, but you have to practice. You have to practice to get stronger. A lot of us are weak emotionally. First, you have to be aware where you're weak, and then you have to make it a decision to get stronger in that area. I still work on my patience. My flight was delayed last night, so I've really worked on my patience. So it doesn't stop. You know, I can't just tell you about it and then you're going to stop stressing. You got to work at it. So, you want to tell them how it's affected you so far? Briefly, I know we got to go.
May have noticed that the schedule was a little fanatic is the word I was using. Fanatic, yes. And, you know, stuff happens to people, you know, when at 2 o'clock in the morning you get that call or when your roof caves in, you know. You get those things that just happen and there's really nothing that you can do about it. So the more you get stressed out about it, you know, the more you get worked up, the less things that actually happen or get accomplished. I am still very much in the baby stages of this, especially to people who are close to me, because I'm kind of one of those people that are like, oh, okay, yeah, my day is great. And then you go home and kick the dog, and I don't actually have one. So anything else that's available.
Definitely a BioCode moment.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, that's why Carla doesn't allow me to have any dogs or animals near me at all. Stuffed is the best I can do. So, but it has been really, really effective. I think one of the things, Lisa and I have went through it, and one of the things is just, you know, when you know each other sometimes too well, and I think the more that you know people, I think that's when it gets harder because, you know, they don't have to really even do anything to push your buttons. They don't have to actually talk. They can just give you the look. And you get that look and you like, you said, and you didn't actually said, you just looked. You know, so that's one of the things that I'm working on. And that the whole forgiveness thing, you know, I just think if you like carry it around forever, at some point it will get fixed. But apparently it doesn't work quite that way.
That's the weight I'm talking about that's lifted that we don't realize is that we carry around. You know, and once you can release all of that, you can be more productive in life. Like I said, it's just giving me an opportunity to focus on what's important to me now and to realize what's not important, right? Everybody has a passion. Everyone, whatever you love to do, that's your passion. And obviously it has something to do with camping, right? So follow that. That's where your success is going to be, where your passion is. So follow that and you'll be successful.
Yeah. And tomorrow, guys, if you want a little bit more one-on-one, Dorsey's going to be doing a course where he'll kind of go through that whole thing with you and actually give you some time to practice some of those things. And I think that will definitely make a difference for you. He also is at 2 o'clock with the kids today. I think that is just phenomenal because I think that's really where it starts is what we teach our children, right? Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, you know, yes, there'll be no cussing. Absolutely.